Hey friends, hey, welcome back to SheSoDramatic. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. In today's video, I'm going to start a brand new segment that I'm going to call She So Lit. No, but seriously, I've been looking for some cute way to introduce my book reviews and tossed around a couple of ideas and came up with, you know what, let's just do a play on SheSoDramatic and call it She So Lit, where we will do book reviews and cocktail reviews. How about that? So today we're going to talk about Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, and it's still technically morning, so I'm just going to have a little bit of spiked coffee for this morning in this book review. So let me turn the camera around and I'll show you what I'm working with. All right. Okay, while that's brewing, let me take you over here and show you something. Another project that I'm working on. It is wet and rainy today, has been for the last few days, and it's forecasted to be this way for a couple more days. So I have a little cocktail garden that I am working on that I cannot wait to get started. So every year I usually do tomatoes, peppers, and parsley. But this year I'm trying something different. I am doing what's called a cocktail garden, where I've got some sage, some lemon thyme, some mint, and just some other things that you would normally find in cocktail recipes, some other herbs that you would normally find in cocktail recipes. And so I'm really excited to get those planted and to be able to have those to experiment with new cocktails. So that'll be something interesting that'll be kind of tied into my She So Lit videos. You know, She So Lit as in literary, but also as in she enjoys a good cocktail. So I'm excited to get that started. I can't wait until the weather dries up. Don't pay no attention to that bucket. I was carrying the plants from the garage around here to the back in that little storage bin. But anyway, I can't wait to get started on that. So that'll be fun. All right, let's get this coffee going. So all I'm gonna do, this is the creamer that I normally use, the International Delight Cold Stone Sweet Cream, but instead of using that, I'm just going to use this, which is a coffee and cream liqueur. A little bit more. All right, let's have the first taste. Oh, girl. Are we gonna get anything done today? Okay, let's go. Turn all the lights out. Hold on, we gotta turn all these lights out. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. So, my thoughts about Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. I'm a little behind on my year of Morrison, but that's okay. We're going to get caught up. But Toni Morrison is one of my favorite authors. She is she was just a powerhouse voice, an advocate for Black literature. I admire her position and her words so much that I just felt compelled to consume everything she's ever written. And so this is the year that I am attempting to read everything that she's ever written, namely her novels and her collections of essays. I won't be reading her children's books because she has quite a few children's books that she wrote with her son. But for me, I'm just going to be focusing on her novels and her collections of essays, just because that's how much I love and admire her work. So I had been procrastinating doing this book review in particular because I knew the story was going to break my heart, and it did. I'm already familiar with the book. I actually used to compete with this book back in my debate and forensics days in high school and in college. For those of you that are not familiar with debate and forensics, the forensic side of it is just the dramatic speaking. So where you've got debate, where you are doing like argumentative speaking, forensics is the dramatic speaking. And so I used to compete in several events: prose, poetry, dramatic interpretation, and then POI, which stands for program oral interpretation. And it's just kind of a combination of some of the other categories. But anyway, so in my dramatic interpretation and my prose events, I would use excerpts from the Bluest Eye. And let me tell you, every time I was competing with the Bluest Eye, I came home with first place trophies. That's how good this book is. So I'm already familiar with the material. I just had not picked it up to reread it in several years, maybe decades. But I'm glad I did. I'm definitely glad I did. So my love for this book goes way back. So the story is about a little 11-year-old girl named Pecola Breedlove, and her experiences with trauma in her family, in her life period in 1940, 1941. As I mentioned, it is a really tragic story that's quite heartbreaking, but it is so necessary because it challenges America's idea and society's idea of beauty. So although the story is about Pecola, it's actually told from the perspective of another little girl, a 9-year-old girl named Claudia, who is kind of explaining and chronicling what happened with Pecola through her 9-year-old eyes, telling the story from her perspective and just kind of explaining the events of what led up to the tragedy. So I'm trying to decide if I can do a review without spoilers. I don't think that I can avoid it. So this is a warning. If you've not read the book yet, there may be parts of my commentary that will spoil parts of the story. So yeah, just a warning. But I want to read the prologue of the book because I think it will give you a great sense of what the story is about. And the prologue is right up front. It's the first 2 pages. So I don't think it's going to reveal too much. But I just want to show you, and I want you to hear what a powerful story this is, okay? Quiet as it's kept, there were no marigolds in the fall of 1941. We thought at the time that it was because Pecola was having her father's baby that the marigolds did not grow. A little examination and much less melancholy would have proved to us that our seeds were not the only ones that did not sprout. Nobody's did. Not even the gardens fronting the lake showed marigolds that year. But so deeply concerned were we with the health and safe delivery of Pecola's baby that we could think of nothing but our own magic. If we planted the seeds and said the right words over them, they would blossom and everything would be all right. It was a long time before my sister and I admitted to ourselves that no green was going to spring from our seeds. Once we knew, our guilt was relieved only by fights about who was to blame. For years, I thought my sister was right. It was my fault. I had planted them too far down in the earth. It never occurred to either one of us that the earth itself may have been unyielding. We had dropped our seeds in our own little plot of black dirt, just like Pecola's father had dropped his seeds in his own plot of black dirt. Our innocence and faith were no more productive than his lust or despair. What is clear now is that of all that hope, fear, lust, love, and grief, nothing remains but Pecola and the unyielding earth. Charlie Breedlove is dead. Our innocence too. The seeds shriveled and died. Her baby too. There's really nothing more to say except why. But since why is difficult to handle, one must take refuge in how. Girl, I love me some Toni Morrison. I need a drink. On that note, I need a drink. So I think the prologue really does give you a sense of what the story is about and the tragedy that is about to unfold. So the story begins with Pecola coming to live with Claudia and her older sister, Frida. At this point, Pecola has become a ward of the state because her family has been through a traumatic domestic violence situation. Her father tried to burn down the house with everybody still in it, and the family was split up. Charlie went to jail. The mother was placed in a home. The brother was placed in a home, and Pecola was placed in Claudia and Frida's home. So Pecola spends several weeks with Claudia and her sister Frida and their family while her own family situation is being worked out. And during that time, you know, they are just doing what any preteen girls would do. They are playing, they're sharing, they're exploring, they're discovering, they're terrorizing the next door neighbor. They are terrorizing the boys. They're talking about movie stars and their favorite shows and pictures. And one of my favorite parts of the story is their examination of Shirley Temple. So in this one scene, they are having a very lively discussion about Shirley Temple and how beautiful she is. Well, Frida and Pecola are having this discussion because they have that in common, their admiration for Shirley Temple and her beauty. And just to kind of give you a contrast of Claudia's attitude about beauty, she cannot understand their fascination with Shirley Temple. She cannot wrap her mind around why Shirley Temple is so special. And she declares very defiantly that she prefers Jane Withers. But she says her distaste for the Shirley Temple and all the Shirley Temples of the world began with Christmas and the gift of dolls. Because as you know, the most special gift, the best, most loving gift is always this big blue-eyed baby doll. And she never did understand, you know, what made this thing so special. She never could cuddle with the thing. This pink-skinned, yellow-haired, blue-eyed doll was not anything that she could relate to. It didn't look like her, yet she was expected to love on it and mother it and, you know, do all of the things that little girls are supposed to do with baby dolls. And she much preferred to dismember it because she just could not understand the fascination with it. So in this story, in this scene, Morrison does a beautiful job, like I said, of contrasting these two different views of beauty. Whereas Pecola is enamored by Shirley Temple and blue eyes and long blonde curly hair. Claudia is like, really? And that's where the book gets its name, The Bluest Eye. Pecola has experienced so much trauma and abuse and neglect that she has tied to her beauty or her lack of beauty, the way that she is treated, the way adults look down on her, the way the other kids mistreat and tease her. All of that is tied up in her identity and her idea or her declaration that she is not beautiful. And she longs for beauty. She longs to be adored by adults and befriended by classmates. And in her mind, the way to obtain that treatment and that love and adoration is for her to be beautiful. And the only way for her to be beautiful is for her to have blue eyes. In fact, she longs for the bluest eye. In her mind, that will resolve all of her problems and fix all of her family's issues, and she will be treated better and loved and not neglected if she's beautiful and if she has the bluest eyes. So anyway, after Pecola spends several weeks with Claudia's family, Claudia and Frida's family, she's eventually reunited with her own family, but her family troubles and the abuse and violence just escalates. So Morrison does this fantastic job of telling you the backstory and the histories of each of the characters in the books, because we all have our own stories, and those stories have different textures and colors and complexities that make us who we are. And so she reveals to the reader everything, or the things in a character's past that have shaped them into who they are. So she does this specifically with Pecola's parents, just kind of giving you a sense of what their past was like. And she does it in a way that doesn't excuse their behavior, but in a way that reflects their humanity. So as you heard in the prologue, Pecola does experience more abuse at the hands of her father, and he goes so far as molesting her, violating her innocence, and she becomes pregnant by her father. And like I mentioned, each of us have our own set of complexities, and Morrison gets us invested in these backstories and in these characters in a way that reveals to us how they got to where they are and the people that they have become, and all of the violations and abuse and ugliness of the world that was perverted upon them, that shaped them into people who were capable of perverting ugliness. So that's just part of Morrison's writing that I really appreciate, is just her revelations of, a person's painful past that, like I said, created their painful present, honestly. So it's still tragic. It's still tragic, but it just kind of gives us a peek into their psyche, really. So without revealing too many details about the story, in case you have not read it yet, it is a book that I recommend. It is just a beautifully tragic coming of age story about these three girls and how each of the girls lose their innocence in different ways. Pecola, obviously, at the hands of her father, but even Claudia and Frida lose their innocence as they discover truth about life and about relationships, and but just discovering all of these different adult issues, the complexities between men and women, society, beauty, sexuality. So as the girls are dealing with these confrontations of truth, we as the readers have to deal with confrontations about society's lies about beauty, about race, gender, self-hatred, self-worth, right? So these are the things that the reader is confronted with. So those are my thoughts about the story. It is it's beautiful and devastating and truthful all at the same time. All right. So I hope you enjoyed my thoughts about Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of content, I invite you to subscribe. So until the next She So Lit segment, I hope you are crushing your reading goals, and I hope you are spending time with the people and the things that bring you joy. Take care.